Hi, I'm Brian Stites with RE/MAX Results in the Talbot Smith Group, and we're going to be talking about purchasing your first home. And we're going to get started right now. So you're thinking about buying your first home, and then you think, how in the heck do I do that? Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to break that down for you today. So a couple of ways people find real estate agents. Obviously, you might get referred. A lot of people will go to an open house. They'll go to an open house, they'll find a home that they really like, and then they'll just talk to the agent that's sitting there in the open house and have them do all the work for them. They don't know the person, they don't know anything about them, and then they're going to trust the biggest decision of their whole life financially into some unknown person. The third option is to find an agent that you know, that you trust, you respect, that knows the market that you're looking in, and that you really feel comfortable with. And that's probably the best option. Why would you leave that decision up to chance? Step number one, finding a great agent. How do you know how to find a great agent? Most buyers don't know that it doesn't cost anything to hire a professional licensed real estate agent. The seller pays all the fees, the buyers don't. That doesn't mean that you don't have the right to interview or you shouldn't interview people. I mean, if you're making the biggest financial decision of your life, might make sense to check out who you're working with. A lot of people will get referred to their friend's hairstylist that just got into the business but really knows what they're doing and would love to help you. Is that really the right person to help you out with to make the biggest financial decision of your life? Or maybe it's your friend's mechanic. No, you want somebody that's been in the business, that knows the market, to help you. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. So why would you settle for anything less? Here's a couple of questions to ask your potential agent. Are you full-time or part-time in the business? That's a good question. How many closings do you normally have in a year? Another great question. Do you have any potential references that you could give me? Can you give me some testimonial videos or something of that nature? These are just some basic questions you might want to know about an agent that's helping you. All right, step number two, we're going to talk about being financially ready. Now, there's a lot of things to do or to consider. Number one is you probably want to know what your credit score is. And there's a couple of different ways you can do that. You can check out myfico.com. That's a good one to check out. You can also do Credit Karma, and there's a whole bunch of them out there. So those are just a couple of websites you'd want to check out to look into your credit. The secondly is understanding the different loan types. Now I'm going to rattle off, I'm going to confuse you. There's a whole bunch of them. You can do FHA, you can do MHFA, you can do VA, which is DVA, Department of Veteran Affairs. You can do a conventional loan. You can do a USDA loan. So there's a whole bunch of different types of loans out there that you can do. You can have 3% down as a minimum for some conventional loans. You can have 0% down for DVA and USDA. You can have 3.5% down for FHA. So just a whole boatload of different programs out there that you want to start to learn about. And again, you'll talk to your agent about that and or your loan officer, which I'm sure your agent can refer you a great one. Next, you need to think about down payment, dollar amounts, and how much you're going to put down. Again, we talked about the different percentages that you can put down. So you're going to want to start saving some money so you can be financially ready to make that decision when the time comes for you. All right, next we're going to talk about closing costs as part of being financially ready. Now, closing costs typically run about 3%. It can be higher for some loans. And closing costs are going to have, you're going to have your lender fees in there. You're going to have your title fees, your title insurance. You're going to have prepaid fees in there and prepaid insurance for your homeowner's insurance, and a whole bunch of different stuff. So typically, though, those closing costs run about 3%. And as a first-time home buyer, and in our particular market here in the Twin Cities, Minnesota, a lot of times we can ask the seller to pay for those. So those are things that you wouldn't have to come up with, those dollars you wouldn't have to come up with. And again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. And lastly, regarding just being financially ready, you really do want to start saving some money so that after you get done buying your home, paying for the down payment, whatever other expenses go along with that, you want to have some cushion available just in case, because you're a homeowner now. You're going to have to mow the lawn. You're going to have to fertilize the lawn if you want a nice one. You're going to have to paint the house. You're going to want to paint your house probably, because when you buy it, it's going to have orange walls, most likely. Who knows? But you just want to have some money saved up for things like that so that God forbid a furnace goes out, you have that cash available. And that's just a smart first-time home buyer tip. Okay, tip number 3, you want to get pre-approved. What does that even mean? That means you have to talk to a loan officer, mortgage lender, whatever you want to call it. And if you have a bank that you bank at or a credit union, you might have somebody there that you know, trust, and respect, and that'd be fantastic. If you don't, I'm sure your real estate agent will be able to give you a reference. Now, newsflash, we don't make any money by giving you a reference. There's no kickbacks, there's no anything like that. A lot of times what agents will do is they will find a loan officer that they know, that they trust, that they respect, that they worked with before. And what they'll do is, they refer people to them because they know they're going to do a great job. They're going to get the job done as it should be with the least amount of headaches. And so you'll want to talk to your real estate agent about finding a great loan officer for you when the time comes. All right, there are several reasons why you want to get pre-approved. We're going to highlight 2. That's this 2. This 2 right here. We're going to highlight 2. The first is you want to get pre-approved so you can find out how much home can you afford. I can't count the number of times that I go out with a first-time home buyer and they don't want to get pre-approved or they haven't been pre-approved, and so we go out and look at $300,000 houses, come to find out they can only afford $220, and then they're frustrated. It's just not a fun deal. So long ago I learned you want to get pre-approved, number 1. And what you're going to find out is not only what general dollar amount can you afford, you're going to find out what the payment's going to be on that. So maybe your payment's going to be $1,500 on X priced house. Now, and that's great. A couple things that go along with the payment piece of it is there's your mortgage interest, there's your mortgage principal, but then you also have taxes and insurance. And taxes and insurance can change based on the property. So you can have one property over here and your payment would be $1,500. And it's, let's say the house price is whatever, $220. And then you have a $220,000 house over here in a different city, and your same payment's $1,700. And the only difference is because these taxes are higher, and maybe the insurance is higher because it's a different style of home. So these are just things to consider when you're out there. So you got to get pre-approved so you can have a general idea of what your price is that you can afford. Secondly, when you go to make an offer on a house, the seller is going to want to see that pre-approval letter. They're going to want to know that you are pre-approved and you can afford this house. Because without that pre-approval letter, we're just saying, we like the house, we'll make an offer, but we can pay for it. And so you're leaving it up to trust, for the seller to trust you. And sellers don't really like to do that. So if you want to put yourself in the best position possible, you want to get pre-approved and have that letter available when you make an offer. All right, one little tip I do use for my buyers that are kind of have a wide range when they're looking for a home. They might be looking for a home that's kind of in a radius. I've heard people say, I'd like to live within 20 miles of this area. Well, that's like 400 houses, which is crazy. So what I like to do is I like to say, okay, great, we want to live in this area. So let's pick the 3 top areas or cities around there that you like. So, okay, so we've picked 3 top cities. Maybe in my market, it's Woodbury. I also like Oakdale and Roseville, for example. And so what we do is we pick those 3 top areas, and then I say, okay, great, we've got 3 areas. I want you to identify them in order, 1, 2, and then 3. And then after we do that, then let's pick the style of home that you ideally would like to have. So maybe it's a rambler, maybe it's a split entry, maybe it's a 2-story. So pick that ideal home. So then what we do is we take that ideal home, let's say it's a rambler, and let's say your number 1 area is Woodbury, Minnesota. So then we look for all ramblers in Woodbury, Minnesota in your price range, and we start there. So why would we go anywhere else if you'd like to live in Woodbury in a rambler and we can find one? Why would we go somewhere else to look for a house? So let's start in the number 1 city or area that you like and go from there. If we can't find something there, then we can move to area 2 and area 3. It just helps the confusion level, because if we don't narrow stuff down and you have such a wide swath, it gets super confusing. So just a tip I use for some of my clients. Well, hey gang, this is the end of part 1. Stop back for part 2 of my first time home buyer series. Take care.